in my last class. The first one. So this is taking it back, right, to that first lesson that we did. It says how many gallons of paint must be purchased to paint a room containing 1,200 square feet of wall space if 1 gallon covers 125 square feet. So the first thing you have to think about is direct or inverse variation here. If the number of gallons goes up, do the square feet covered go up or down? More paint means more square feet, okay? So if they're both moving up, what kind of variation? Direct or inverse? Direct. For direct variation, you set up what? Proportions or products? Proportions, yes.
Can you just divide 1,200 by 125?
Uh-huh. But that doesn't help you with the process down the road if you have different things that come into play. So yes, you can. So your setup is this. If I have 1 gallon for 125 square feet, then I have how many gallons for 1,200 square feet? Okay, you set up a product when it's direct variation. In that, you cross multiply. If you have ratios set equal to each other, cross multiply. So you get 1,200 equals 125x, and then you're going to divide by 125. So x equals, this comes out to 9.6. The question is, how many gallons of paint must be purchased? 10 gallons. You can't purchase a fraction of a gallon, at least not in any paint store that I've ever been to. So this would be 10 gallons of paint. Okay. So just remember, with direct variation, you set it up as proportions. Something over something equals something over something. Okay? Okay, number 2. It says 10 kids agree to paint a fence in D days. How many days will it take if 2 more join in? So assuming that 2 more doesn't mean more distraction, if you have more people painting, is it going to take more days or less days? Less. Should take less days, okay? So that's inverse variation. How do you set up inverse variation? You do products for that. So we're going to multiply the parts instead of setting up proportions. So 10 kids will do it in D days. So 10 times D. And you set that equal to, so if we add 2 more people, what's our number? 12. Times your thing that you're solving for. How many days? Whenever you're solving for something, just call that X. Don't call it D again, because that mixes up what we're working with. They didn't use a number for D. So the idea is solve for X. Divide by 12, divide by 12. You get X equals, so 10D over 12, or that will reduce to 5D over 6. So just reduce that ratio, and you're good to go. Okay, questions on that? Okay, these next 3, notice what's happening. This is multiplication. This one's multiplication. This one's division. What do we have to do? Let's look at number 3. Factor first. So x squared minus 25 factors to what? X plus 5, x minus 5. So x plus 5, x minus 5 there. What do you get when you factor x squared plus 6x plus 5? What can you multiply to? Yeah, so multiply to get 5, add to get 6. So that's going to be x plus 5 and x plus 1. I'm just going to rewrite this whole thing right now. Okay, so that's my numerator. X squared is still my denominator. Over here you have 3x cubed, and then x plus 5 and x minus 5. Now, notice this is multiplication. Do you need a common denominator? No. So you can really just treat this as one big division bar right now, and you multiply across the top and you multiply across the bottom. What can you do from here? You can cross out what's the same. X plus 5 over x plus 5 is 1. You also have x to the third over x to the second. What are you left with? Just x in the numerator. So you have a 3, an x, and an x plus 1. And then in the denominator, you have an x minus 5. If you want to distribute that, you can. It's not wrong, but you don't have to. You can just leave it right like that. Questions on that? Yeah.
Can we move out this or distribute the 3x?
Yes. Okay. Number 4. This one's division. What happens with division?
Common denominator?
You don't need a common denominator to divide. You need a common denominator when?
To add.
To add or subtract. What happens when you divide? When dividing fractions, don't be shy. Flip the second guy and multiply. So it's going to be 6ab over 9a, but now we're going to multiply and flip it over. Okay. Now from here, you can do one of two things. You can multiply straight across and then reduce, or you can cross reduce. You cannot cross multiply. When do you cross multiply? If this is an equal sign, then you cross multiply. But when it's multiplication, you go straight across. Do you care? Do you want to go across or do you want to cross reduce? Across. Okay, so if we multiply across, 6 times 12 is 72. You have an a. B times b to the fourth. What is that? Add them. B to the fifth. Okay, your denominator, 9 times 3 is 27. A times a to the third is a to the fourth. Add those together. Okay, so now you're here. What are 72 and 27 both divisible by? 9. So if we reduce that, it'll be 8 over 3. What happens with your a's? One of them gets crossed out on both, right? If you're subtracting a to the first minus a to the fourth, 1 minus 4 is a negative 3. So you have a to the negative third on top, or you can just think of it, keep it in the same place as the bigger one and subtract. 4 minus 1 is 3. But you still have your b to the fifth as a numerator, and that will be your final answer. Questions on that one? Okay, over to number 5. Number 5 is multiplication again. If we go straight across, you get 6 times 5 is 30, x, y to the third. Straight across on bottom, you get 50, x to what power? The third, y to the third. Again, so you're just adding your exponents. And now you simplify. What's y to the third over y to the third? It's 1. Those go away. X over x to the third is going to give you an x squared on bottom because you're going to subtract those. 1 minus 3 is a negative 2 on top, so it's a positive 2 on bottom. And then 30 over 50 reduces to what? 3 over 5. So you get 3 over 5x squared. Okay. Here's where I feel like most of the mistakes happen. These next 3 look similar, but they are different. And you have to be able to distinguish between them. First of all, which 2 are somewhat alike? Of 6, 7, and 8. 6 and 7, I would say, are the most alike. What do you do on 6 and 7? you need to find a common denominator. You need to get a common denominator and then combine your numerators. Okay? Whereas on number 8, you're going to multiply everything by the least common denominator, but you don't need a common denominator. You're actually trying to get rid of the denominators on number 8. Okay? So whenever there's an equal sign, think multiply by the LCD. When you have an equal sign, think brackets. You're going to multiply everything by the same thing. Up here, you find your common denominator. What will your common denominator be between these two? 21 x squared y squared. You were looking at what you need to multiply by. So your common denominator is whatever your least common denominator between these two could be. So 21, they can both get to a 21 fairly easily. An x squared and a y squared. So if I want that to be my common denominator, what do I have to multiply by on the left?
3y squared, or 3y.
3y and 3y, right? You're multiplying by 1 because this is not what you're doing to all sides of an equation. This is just what you're doing to one ratio. So if you multiply by 1, it doesn't change the value. When we do that, we get 9y over here. Then it's plus, what do I have to multiply on the right side? Just x over x to make that 21x squared y squared. So you get 4x over here, and that's it, really. If you want to put it technically in standard form, you'd swap your 4x and your 9y. I don't mark off if you leave it like this. That's fine. Okay. Okay. Take a look at 7. This one's subtraction, so you gotta be a little bit careful with subtraction. Sometimes it comes into play where you're distributing things and then you gotta distribute the negative. What do you do first on this problem? Factor out what on the left side? Factor out an x. We're left with x minus 3. So that takes care of that guy. What about the right side? 3x minus 9. What can you do with that? Factor out a 3. You're left with x minus 3. Okay, so you're here. What is your common denominator going to be? Three x times x minus 3, right? So we want to keep this, and then we want a 3 on both sides, so you're going to go times 3, and we want an x on both sides, so times x times x. So we get 12 minus 6x as our numerator. Our denominator is 3x times x minus 3. Do you see anything there? You can factor, so you can actually factor a 6 out of your numerator. So if I take a 6 out, I'm left with 2 minus x over 3x times x minus 3. That means 6 over 3 becomes 2 over 1. So it's 2 times 2 minus x over x times x minus 3. So if you can factor something out, you should keep going. If you can't, then you could just leave it how you see it there. But because you can, keep going. All right, number 8. So this one has the equal sign. So we're going to multiply by the LCD. What would your least common denominator be here? X plus 1. So we're going to multiply everything, all 3 parts, by x plus 1. So it's going to be 5 times x plus 1, don't distribute, minus 4 times x plus 1 over x plus 1. And the whole idea with this is we're trying to get rid of denominators. So 6 times x plus 1 on the right side. What's your next move? cross out first, and then you can distribute. So the x plus 1s equal 1. So you get 5x plus 5 minus 4 equals 6x plus 6. So take away 5x. And then this is 5 minus 4 is 1. So take away 6 and you get negative 5. So x equals a negative 5. Questions on that? Okay, here's what I want you to do. The rest of this is your homework. I'm happy to do whatever of it you want me to do of it with you, because there is that other optional review if you want to try some on your own as well. But I just need to know which ones you want to focus on. So give me a number and we'll do it together. Or work on your own if you don't want to work with me right now. Is there one you would like to see? Okay, so 25, it says to state restrictions. Do you remember where your restrictions will come from when there's division? Yep. It'll be from all of that. So the only one you don't state restrictions on is the top left, okay? Because we are dividing, we're gonna multiply by the reciprocal, but we're gonna factor as we go. So how do you factor 4x squared minus 2x? Take a 2x out, and you're left with 2x minus 1. Okay, then we factor x squared plus 5x plus 4. So you're going to set up star method. What can you multiply to get 4 that you can add to get 5?
4 and 1.
So that's going to be x plus 4 and x plus 1. Okay, now we're going to multiply and we're going to flip it over. So this 2x is going to move to the bottom. And then x squared plus 2x plus 1, you're going to do up top. So what can you multiply to get 1 that you can add to get 2? 1 and 1, right? So that's x plus 1 times x plus 1. I wouldn't write that as x plus 1 squared because then you don't notice that you can actually slash something away there. Just write it out as you see it. So restrictions. X cannot be what for this? X plus 4. A negative 4. X plus 1. A negative 1. 2x.
0.
That one's 0. This one we already did. Negative 1 and negative 1. So that's actually all of your restrictions. And now you can start slashing. So you have a 2x with a 2x, an x plus 1 with an x plus 1. So you have 2x minus 1 times x plus 1 over x plus 4. Okay. Questions on that? So division, flip it over and multiply. Okay. Any others that you would like to see? Do you remember when we say varies, what you're supposed to write down? Equals k. So whenever you see varies, think equals k. Directly, you multiply. Inversely, you divide. Jointly, you multiply. That's about it. Any other numbers you want to do together? What? No?
On 6, how would we set that up?
So it says, suppose that x and y vary inversely. X is 30 when y is 2. So for inverse variation, you're setting up a proportion essentially for your equation. Not a proportion. You're setting up a ratio for your equation. But to solve it, it's products. So it's essentially this equation. Y equals K over X is the inverse variation equation. You're trying to come up with an equation for that where we know the K value. So if they vary inversely, that's this. It says X is 30 when Y is 2. So 2 equals K over 30. You can solve for your K then by multiplying by 30. So your K value is 60. And then you're going to plug that 60 in right here for the specific equation. So Y equals 60 over X. That would be your specific equation. That's what I'm going to ask you for on the test, is what is the specific equation. So that's that. It says find Y when X is 5. So you're going to say Y equals 60 over 5. So Y would be 12 if X is 5. Okay. What else? Yeah.
How would we write like the inverse variation equation? Like, do we just plug in K?
You plug in values to find K. Oh, are you saying like
Yeah,
these
how
ones?
would we write that equation? Like once we have K.
Remember how we said you look at your X's, as you move through your X's, those are moving up. As you move through your Y's, those are going down. So that's inverse variation. So it's Y equals K over X. So if I'm trying to figure out what is my K value, because you need a number here for your equation, then I would have to multiply by X on both sides. So you're really just multiplying your X and Y values. So we're going to go 3 times 24 is 72. 4 times 18 is 72. And 8 times 9 is 72. So this is your K value, that's 72, as long as it stays constant every time. So then your equation, the inverse variation equation, is Y equals 72 over X. Whereas this one is going up and going up. So that's direct variation. That's Y equals K times X is the direct variation equation. So on that one then, you're actually dividing Y over X to find your K. So K equals 30 over 5, or 42 over 7, or 54 over 9. Those all come out to 6. So that means that 6 is going to go here. So Y equals 6 times X would be your equation for that one. Any others you would like to see? What's the difference between 31 and 33? What do you do to solve 31? You cross multiply. So you get X minus 4 equals 5X. You take away an X. So 4X equals negative 4. Divide by 4. So X is negative 1. Okay, so if you can cross multiply, please cross multiply. But 33 you can't cross multiply. What do you do with 33? LCD. This is the bracket one. When there's those 3 pieces, you're going to multiply everything by the LCD. What is your LCD with 2, 6, and X? 6X. So you get 6X over 2 plus 6X squared over 6. What's 18 times 6? 108. 108X over X. So now simplify. 6 over 2 is 3X. 6 over 6 is X squared. And then this is 108. So on this one, you're going to, rearrange X squared plus 3X minus 108 equals 0. How do you solve a quadratic? You can do the quadratic formula every time. If it's factorable, you could also factor. Is this one factorable?
Yeah.
9 and 12.
What do you get? 9 and 12? So 12 and negative 9 to add to 3 and multiply to negative 108. So this is going to be x plus 12 and x minus 9. So then you get what as your x values? Negative 12, positive 9.
On 32, would you multiply everything by x squared times x plus 3?
Not x squared, just x times x plus 3. So take this whole thing. This can be your LCD, x times x plus 3. So, I mean, if you turned that into x squared plus 3x, that would be fine too, but that is going to require way more work in the end.
Okay.
So if you do this, now you're multiplying it by all of these. This one you have to be careful with because it's subtraction. I actually did this one wrong in my last class. 2x times x plus 3 over x plus 3 minus x times x plus 3 over x equals a negative 6 times x plus 3 over x times x plus 3. Be really careful with this, okay? If you're subtracting the whole next piece. So x plus 3 over x plus 3 goes away, x over x goes away, x plus 3 over x plus 3, x over x. So you are left with, right now, 2x minus x plus 3 equals a negative 6. So you have to go minus x minus 3. So 2x minus x minus 3 equals negative 6. 2x minus x is just x, and then you're going to add 3. So negative 6 plus 3 is a negative 3. So you get x equals negative 3. Now here's the deal. What happens if x is negative 3? There's technically no solution. I don't throw one like that at you, but if you plugged a negative 3 in there, you would be dividing by 0, which you can't do. So technically there's no solution. But this would be the process to get you there. That's more what I'm concerned about on that.
So on tests, you're not gonna like treat this like that?
I sure don't think I put any no solutions on there. I made this test a while ago. What else?
Can you go to 31?
31. That one's cross multiply.
Let's do 34.
Which one?
Last
34. You travel 10 miles on your bicycle in the same amount of time it takes your friend to travel 8 miles on his bicycle. If your friend rides his bike 2 miles per hour slower than you ride your bike, find the rate at which your friend is traveling. Okay, so if you think distance and speed, you have you and you have your friend that you're talking about. So your distance is 10 miles. In the same amount of time it takes your friend to travel 8 miles. If your friend rides his bike 2 miles per hour slower, so if your speed is S, then your friend's speed is S minus 2, right? Whatever your speed was, take away 2 from that. So if you think about this, as the distance decreased, the speed on this one also decreased. That's a direct variation setup, which is a little goofy. But if this is direct variation, then you can set up a proportion to solve. So you can say distance over speed equals distance over speed, or vice versa. Speed over distance equals speed over distance would be fine. So you really just need to cross multiply that. I promise I don't give you one like this either. But the concept, right, where you're setting it up and cross multiplying, that's what I care more about. So 10s minus 20 equals 8s. So if you take away 10s, negative 2s equals negative 20. Divide by negative 2. So the speed that you're going, that was s, right? So you're going 10 miles per hour. So how fast is your friend going? 8 miles per hour. Anything else? What are you going to do on 27 and 28? Find a common denominator. You need to make your denominators the same and then simplify. Okay? Did you have one, Jonathan?
27.
Okay, so if we're going to find a common denominator, first you want to factor x squared minus 4. So that's x plus 2 times x minus 2. So this goes away. What's your common denominator going to be? Yeah, x plus 2, x minus 2. So on the left, you don't have to do anything. That one's ready to go. This side, you have to do x minus 2, x minus 2. It is tempting to want to slash things away, but we just did something that doesn't allow that, right? If we start slashing, it just undoes what we just did, and then you're back to square one again. So instead, what you're going to do is you're going to take 3x plus 6 times x minus 2 and put it over our common denominator. So now you can distribute. So you get 3x plus 6x minus 12 over this again. Simplify that. 3x plus 6x is 9x minus 12 over x plus 2 times x minus 2. Technically, you could factor a 3 out of that, but it's not going to change it. You end up with 3 times x minus 4 over x plus 2 times x minus 2. I will take this, and I will take that just the same. So that's up to you, how you want to leave it on that one. Kevin, did you have one? 9. Okay, so it says find z when x is 4 and y is 8. And it says, what do you write when you hear varies? Equals k. So z varies jointly as multiplication, so times x and y. When x is 2, y is 2, z is 7. So 7 equals k times 2 times 2. So 4k equals 7. So you'll divide by 4. So your k value is 7/4. So that is going to go here. Z equals 7/4 xy. So this is your specific equation. When I ask you to give me a specific equation, that's what I'm looking for. Plug the numbers in, solve for k, and then drop your k into that. So then it says find z if x is 4 and y is 8. So you're going to go z equals 7/4 times 4 times 8. And that, you can just plug that into your calculator, or 4 over 4 is 1, so 7 times 8 is 56. But if you want to just plug it in how you see it, that's fine too. Javier, you leave your phone up here. Anything else?
What's the common denominator on 28? Because if they're both x squared, how do you multiply them by something different to get?
So it's going to be x times x plus 1 times x minus 1 times x plus... Oh, no, I lied. That's not right. This is x plus 1. So it'll be x times x plus 1 times x minus 1. Yeah. Anything else you want to see? I did.
The last one, 34. I missed
It's direct variation. So I set it up as a proportion. 10 over the speed equals the friend's distance over the friend's speed. So 10 over s equals 8 over s minus 2. And then cross multiply. Was there one back here? Heaven, did you raise your? Okay, so 10 is still using this information. It says z, when you hear varies, so equals k, directly with x, and inversely is division with y. So that's your general equation. It says when x is 5, y is 2, and z is 10. So if you drop those numbers in, 10 equals k times 5 over 2. And then solve for k. So I would multiply by 2 to get this out of there. So 20 equals 5k, and then divide by 5. So k is going to be 4 on that one. So get rid of the k and drop in a 4 instead. So this is your specific equation. But then what it says is when x is 4 and y is 8, what will z be? So now you're going to drop in those numbers. So z equals 4 times 4 over 8. So z is 16 over 8. So z is 2. Anything else? John, say it again. 28. So I did difference of squares here. I factored out an x. Oh, I lied. It is a 3. That is a 3. Sorry. That's a really big denominator. Am I doing something wrong there? No. That would be your common denominator. That's hideous. But what you're going to do then is to make that the common denominator, you would have to multiply by x times x plus 3 on the left. And then on the right, you would have to multiply by x plus 1, x minus 1 on top and bottom. Okay. Yeah.
On 27.
Oh, hold on. Let me finish this problem. So this setup, now you have a subtraction problem that is this times 1. So really just x squared plus 3x minus, and then this. So difference of squares, this would be x squared minus 1, and we're multiplying that by 2. So minus 2x squared, and then minus a negative 2 is going to be plus 2, all over that huge denominator, this whole thing. So if you simplify this, x squared minus 2x is a negative x squared, plus 3x plus 2 over, this is just the worst, x times x plus 1 times x minus 1 times x plus 3. My guess is you can factor this out. So if I factor out a negative 1, first of all, it'd be negative 1 times x squared minus 3x minus 2 over this whole thing again. Let's see, can you multiply something to get a negative 2 that you can add to get a negative 3? You can't, huh? 2 and negative 1, negative 2, and positive 1. Never mind. This is it. You can leave it like that. If you want to factor out a negative 1, they don't love the leading coefficient. Let me see if I have. Yeah, I don't have that one worked out, but I don't think you can go any further than that.
Quick question on 27. Or 27. We multiply the left side by x minus
No, because that was a difference of squares. It was x squared minus 4, so that's x plus 2, x minus 2. And you have an x plus 2 over here, so you just need an x minus 2 on the right side. The left side already has the common denominator. Yes. 7:40 tomorrow morning if you would like to come in. And if you want my quiz answers, you can come take a picture.